Good afternoon, Bulls fans. I'm Matt Gritzmacher from UB Bull Run. I'm joined by most of the staff of the blog, Tim Reardon, Robbie Johnson, Drew Gaz. Drew, I don't know how to pronounce your last name. Gashevsky?
Skashevsky, yeah. Nice
All
job.
right. Drew Gaz. It is a special Sunday post-championship edition of Basketballs and Beers. Our plan here, it's 5 o'clock now. The men's selection show starts in half an hour. It's a plan to talk. We have no agenda. Whatever we end up saying about this weekend, probably the best, certainly the best weekend in UB Athletics history. If you don't know by now, the men claimed their second straight MAC championship. They're headed NCAA tournament for the second time in 2 years, second time in program history. A hell of a game, hell of a buzzer-beating shot by Blake Hamilton. That's what we're here today for. That selection is in half an hour, the bracket selection show. Earlier in the day, yesterday, the women capped off one of the finest runs you'll ever see in the MAC tournament. Upset from Steph Reed. Their selection show is tomorrow at 7 p.m. We will not have a live show for that, but at least Robbie and I and maybe others will be on for our usual time slot of 10 p.m. on Monday nights talking more basketball. I'm also now joined by John McWhinney. He'll be in. I just got to say before we get much further, I have my 2014 MAC Champions Women's Soccer shirt on. This shirt is now nearly undefeated in MAC Championships. The only one it's lost is men's soccer versus Akron this past fall. But it's won us 3 basketball championships, a tennis championship, and a national championship in shot put. So it's the lucky shirt. That's what I want to start with. We can get back to basketball now. Like I said, buzzer-beating shots from Steph Reed and Blake Hamilton. We can talk about the games before that. We can talk about those games first. Robbie, I think I may want to go to you first. Robbie's currently in a car, still driving back from Cleveland. Their live show, in time and for the live watch party. But Robbie, you were in Cleveland covering it for Bull Run. Take it away.
It was, I'm speechless. It was absolutely unbelievable to sit there and just watch us win 2 MAC championships. And in the fashion that it was done, I almost fell over when Reed hit the buzzer beater while I was taking video of it. And then I was lucky to catch the Hamilton buzzer beater as well. So it was just amazing, the fashion it was all done in this season, and it was quite an experience in Cleveland. It was almost like a traveling circus in a way, where you saw all the same characters every day from the athletic department, and it was just a wonderful experience.
Yeah, and guys, if you're watching us now, or you've been on the site and you haven't seen some of the videos we got, both from Robbie and then from other folks, that's definitely worth it of both buzzer beaters. Robbie got floor-level shots of both buzzer beaters. Did a great job of keeping his hand steady, I've got to say. Robbie, I am going to mute you because I don't think you can do that on your phone. I'll be careful and bring you back when necessary. Robbie got shots of both. Conrad, who is not joining us on the call, did a great he stitched them. Maybe I can't mute you. Oh, there we go. Did a great job of stitching together the multiple angles with the radio calls. Absolutely worth your time. Robbie, I know, has put up a photo set of the women's game at least. He hasn't had time yet to do the men's game, but he's got so much from the weekend that we'll have more of that. Drew, you just graduated this past year, right?
Yeah. So I haven't been out for a full year yet.
So you were in your leadership position in True Blue at last year's championship.
Yep.
And this is your year. Move away to Boston. I know that. The year I graduated high school and left Buffalo for Boston was the year that we then won the football championship. So, got a bit of
that's the key. We have to get someone to move to Boston.
So we have to sacrifice someone, basically.
Yep. So we gotta find someone for next year. But yeah. So my day yesterday was kind of strange. So I was running errands through the first part of the day. Caught the last 2 minutes of the women's game. Before it went to overtime, so I got all the fun parts. But obviously that pumped me up to a huge extent, and ecstatic. I was jumping around in my apartment. I probably scared the neighbors half to death about what was going on at 3:45 in the afternoon. But and then later at night, I went over to a friend's house, to watch the game. They had no affiliation to UB at all, so I was, that crazy guy, that crazy fanatic, just driving them insane. No one's really paying attention except for me and my girlfriend. But yeah, I mean, it's just an overwhelming experience going from last year, being able to attend and, reflecting on that this year it's a huge deal. Like, for any students out there watching, like it's definitely the most memorable experience while I had at UB was going to Cleveland for the MAC, just the whole tournament. And it's invaluable, honestly. Just the experience, just getting together with a group of people with the same interest and rallying around a common cause. It's a really awesome thing, and it just builds a whole ton of pride for yourself and the university. So reflecting on that this year, a little nostalgia, but it's always good watching the Bulls win. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I know Robbie mentioned it. Robbie, I have managed to mute you now. If you want to wave your hand in front of the screen when you need it, I'll unmute you. Talking about Cleveland as this destination, absolutely, it's one of the best things the MAC does as a conference. Is this yearly festival thing in Cleveland? If you were in Cleveland anytime this year or in the past, that UB's home bar is the Harry Buffalo. Robbie talks about seeing the same characters everywhere you go. It really, the city embraces it. The Q Arena embraces it. I know, Robbie, I think you're in the car with Shane. My mom said that she became Shane's cough drop supplier for the weekend. I know my mother is a teacher. She's not going to have a voice for tomorrow. A big thing of Bull Run is that we are, for the most part, an out-of-Buffalo organization. John and Robbie in the last 2 years have really helped us with on-the-ground in UB stuff. But Tim, Tim's been watching from Minnesota. Tim, 2 years in a row now you've written.
You betcha.
2 years in a row now you've written a mid-season kind of, okay, this team isn't, maybe they don't got it, and that's all right. And 2 years, it's worked out all right for us.
I'm already starting to write up another one for next year right here. I think the point of both of those was not to say anything bad about the team. It was in regards to an early season slump or mid-season slump, kind of getting people ready to crap on the team. And of course, this year it was the losses to Western Michigan and Eastern Michigan that had us all like this, because they're not bad teams this year. EMU showed up well later in the season, but Western was pretty bad. Eastern was just they pounded us. It was the quality of the loss that got me about Eastern, not the loss itself. Yeah, both years, Matt, you're absolutely right. Basically, we just put ourselves out there saying, look, this is a great team. Are they going to win the MAC this year? I don't know, but stick around. Don't sleep on them. And both years they come in and win the MAC. This year, in a much more surprising fashion. I think by the end of last year, a lot of people had Buffalo pegged as either their favorite or the team they expected second. This year, I was so nervous each and every game. Even Miami, because they had gotten so hot towards the end of the season, including thumping us at home on senior night. For every game, I was just so nervous. But it was really feel vindicated, even though I didn't say we would win. I'm going to leave that. I think Matt had the best prediction of anyone. I saw this as maybe a 500 team. Nate Oates fed me the best tasting crow I've had in a long time this year.
Yeah, I'm on a pretty good run with my. I get called a shill sometimes, and I'm on a pretty good run with my optimism. I had UB as contending for a bye. And by the middle of the season, I said this is a MAC semifinalist team, and we got that and more. I had something to say, and now I lost it while you were talking. Oh, more of a surprise win. I got to say, last year's win, UB went up by 9 points with 60 minutes to play, and I wouldn't say they coasted, but they weren't really threatened. They had an answer for Central Michigan. I think they scored on 12 of their final 14 possessions last year in the MAC championship, and it really was. We're here. We had the chance to really embrace the moment and celebrate it. This game against Akron, and even the earlier games against Ohio and Miami, they hit so many shots from three. The women, of course, coming from flashes during the regular season to putting it all together for 3 games. This was the type of championship times 2 that really it's a dream championship. Last year was a kind of game that you go so long without a tournament that, at least for me, that's the type of game I always imagined winning the tournament. Having a team so good that they're able to coast and just play a really solid game. This year, that's the type of game you dream about. I was a baseball kid, growing up, so I had dreams about, hitting a hit with the base so wide to hit a buzzer beater is so stunning. Just some of the most incredible moments I think UB has had since the 2008 football season. Tim's got a topic for us, but John did join us late. I want to give John the floor to say whatever he wants to say.
All right. So yeah, for those of you who follow the Olympic podcast, you'll notice I am not in my college apartment, but I'm back home. I managed to catch nearly the entirety of the women's game. I have a funny little story to say about the buzzer beater at the end. So I was sitting in the same chair I'm sitting in now, and my TV, as you can see, is right over there in the corner, and I had the game up there. I'd been drinking beer throughout the game, and as soon as Reed put up the shot, I had this glass in my hand, and I threw my hands up. And right after I did that, I thought, oh God, what did I just do? And I turned around. Luckily, there was no beer in the glass. I was good and finished it beforehand. I was about to go grab another one. So I nearly gave myself a double heart attack between Reed winning the game in the most crazy way possible, and then me thinking I spilled beer over nearly the entirety of my room. The men's game, I saw about half of it. I had a little bit more than half of it. I think I left. I didn't catch the end, which is the really sad part. I had to leave. I had things to take care of, but the end of that game, once I walked outside and was able to check my phone, I can't even describe how happy I was that both teams, that the men pulled it out and they won. It's funny to say, but I've had two men's basketball championships, one during my time at UB as a student, and that's something that really no one else can say besides people that are in my class and people that were at UB last year as well. And it's an amazing winning cures all. It really does. So I'm really happy for both teams. I can't wait to see what's next.
Yeah, and John, I think if I remember, John, you left when Akron cut the lead to 1 when they had hit their 6-3 of the second half. At one point this weekend in the Ohio game, Tim stepped away to put a daughter to sleep, and Ohio made a run and got back within. And then when he came back, Buffalo took it away again. And I said, Tim, no more bedtimes.
And John, indeed, all 4 children were up until after the game, which is very hard getting them to bed after their father jumped around the house like a lunatic. But I managed it. By 11 o'clock, they were all sleeping.
Yeah, I certainly had my superstitions as well. I was telling these guys before the women's, I was of course watching at work, and when Lily Piper from Akron hit a 3-pointer to put them up 12 in the first half, I threw my head back, told my coworkers, Akron's hitting too many threes, we're playing too fast, we can't win this game, it's not the way that we're built to win. And of course we did end up winning, but I, because of work, had to watch the rest of it on live stats, and we won. And so the final 3.5 games of this weekend I watched entirely on live stats, and then watched on replay immediately after. But I refused to watch video or even listen on the radio other than the championship games the last few minutes. And between Tim and I, we're both a couple states away, but we can claim something in this, I think.
Matt, I've been there. Being a dad, I've been. There's a lot of games where you follow on live stats, and in some ways it's a lot harder on the nerves to follow it in live stats than to watch it live.
Oh, I like the live stats better. I don't know why. I just do.
No, I'm sure it's a taste thing.
Yeah.
But I was about 10 seconds behind the rest of Twitter. So actually I had to keep my eyes away from Twitter as I watched the game. But there was a one point where Akron went up by 1, and y'all can whip me with the wet noodle or whatever. I was sure. I was like, that's it. I was like, we don't have this team anymore. They've done it. We kept them down. But I believe it was Conrad who had said at one point they used a lot of energy for that. And sure enough, Buffalo came back strong. But all in all, I would have rather won like we beat CMU last year, like you talked about, Matt. Where those last 2 minutes was basically celebration, not like. But yeah, it was a great experience.
Yeah, Tim, you want to ask the guys about that moment though, right?
I was just wondering,
I don't know how you want to frame it.
was I the only a cynical jerk that saw Akron go up by a point and think, oh, this is it. They're hitting their threes. We're cold from the floor. I just hope we keep it respectable.
Yeah, I mean, I spent probably the last half just pacing. I didn't sit down. I was just like walking just back and forth and just around. And when Akron went up by 1, Buffalo teams just in general, I don't know, they never pull it out at the end for the most part. Like when there's that less time, like I've just become accustomed to the fact like, all right, there's only, 1 possession left. Probably not gonna pull this one out. But that foul by Antino Jackson, it cost him the game. Like you heard the announcer saying like they have 2 fouls to give, and I was thinking when I was walking back and forth, I was like, you definitely don't want to foul him here because there was 12, 13 seconds left on the shot clock to inbound. If they had a little bit of trouble inbounding the ball, the past 2 minutes leading up to that. But by him fouling, I allowed them to run out, the game clock and have that last shot. They're playing for overtime or playing for the win. And, I think that kind of gave them the confidence, like, there's nothing to lose here, really. As long as we run down the clock, to a respectable level, we don't have that much to lose. So I think that foul was huge. Definitely not what I would have done in that situation. I don't know if you guys have any other thoughts.
Yeah, I think Tim and I are both talking on the chat. Once you make that foul and the shot clock's off, I think you've just got to follow quickly. And
that was their fourth, right? That was their fourth.
It was their fourth. Yeah,
so they
probably would have taken
2 more times.
Yeah,
3 more times. So probably would have taken 6 seconds.
On the next inbounds, foul.
Yeah. It still would have taken 6 seconds, but UB would have been shooting free throws with 8 to 10. Like that's enough to get down the floor. Even as the men's basketball hasn't adopted this stupid NBA rule that the women's basketball adopted this year, which
is that why they went from the baseline? I was confused about that. Okay.
Yes. I have to begrudgingly admit that it finally helped UB out on the women's side. I still think it's a stupid ass rule.
But it wouldn't have come down to that without the rule either, as you said yesterday.
Yes, it wouldn't have come down to that for a number of reasons. UB would have won in regulation, and Central Michigan would have gotten the foul shots with 3 seconds left. This is the women's game. I will continue my campaign against Gino Oriyama and his basketball. But bad if they just kept following by that point. That was their only chance to get the ball back in regulation, whether UB hit a shot or not. 8 seconds is enough to run the whole floor. John, what were you thinking at that? Well, you had to leave, but you had to leave with that hanging over your head. What were you thinking when Akron got to within 1 there?
When they had gotten to within 1, I was about as low as I had been during the game. I think I posted a GIF on Twitter of Sylvester from the Looney Tunes with like a bunch of cigarettes in his mouth, and he's got a pot of coffee in his hand, and he's shaking like this. And that's kind of how I felt at the time. But I know early in the game, Akron had went on some runs, and UB just got like 1 or 2 shots to fall, and that helped them along and got them, kind of broke the Akron momentum. And I kind of had the thought in the back of my head that, yeah, that's probably what was going to happen. And in my heart of hearts, I really knew that UB was going to win. I didn't want to really come out and say it for fear of being blamed that I jinxed the team or anything. But I was nervous to say the least because, it's tight game. I was nervous, but I was excited because that's the type of game as a fan you kind of want to see, even though it's really nerve-wracking and you hate it. You love it and you hate it at the same time. You hate it because it's so nerve-wracking and, you're shaking like a leaf. But it's fun at the same time because you're watching a great basketball game and you see highlights on ESPN, and it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, and Akron's such a good team, and that's why I was really scared. If it had been one of the other MAC teams, being down a point wouldn't have got me as nervous, but I do want to say I feel kind of bad for Akron. I think anyone who was around in 2000, when the Bulls got snubbed, a decade ago, has that same feeling. You lose the championship game on a really late, on a late basket, and you were before that a 12, 11, 10 seed, like a really good team, and now you're sitting there probably not going to get a bid because so many number ones are falling in conference tournaments.
Yeah, I mean, I think that just going back to the game too is a game of runs. I mean, you saw UB take a run early. There were 3 or 4 big runs, back and forth. And I'm just really glad to not play Reggie McAdams or Jay Kretzer again. I know that Jay Kretzer didn't do too much in the game yesterday, but those 2 shooters, man, I'm glad to see them go.
Who really impressed me yesterday? Robot Ham.
Robot Ham.
Man, he was
Here's
demolishing.
the final play got put in no man's land. He was great. He was absolutely amazing. And then at the end of the game, he was the one in position to stop Hamilton, and he couldn't. I don't know if you guys have read my film study post yet of the final plays of both the men's and the women's game. But that final, talking about Akron, and they're a good team, and they're full of good players who, even before McAdams and Kretzer, Forsythe, has been around. I think he was lost to the season this year.
Yeah.
Before them, Steve McNeese, remember him? Always just used to be in the right spot at the right time. That's Dambrot's thing. He gets people who are there at the right spot at the right time. On that final possession, they were not. Hamilton ran this screen to set space for Lamonte and pulled Antono Jackson away from the ball. And so Quan Cheatham collapsed on Bearden, and that stinks for Akron because Jackson's not big enough to defend Hamilton, and Cheatham's not fast enough to defend Bearden. But what happened there, and those two are the ones that really messed up. Like, Jackson shouldn't have followed Hamilton, and Cheatham shouldn't have gotten off of Hamilton. But Isaiah Johnson moved up to the baseline or to the free throw line to also come to the ball, and when Perkins passed it to Hamilton, I was just going to call him Robot Ham. Robot Ham was the closest to Hamilton, but he couldn't leave because Massenberg had the backdoor cut and all sorts of space because Johnson and Cheatham were so far off the low post. Robbie, I'm going to mute you for 1 second. I'm going to go to you. I'm not going to. Robbie, I can't mute you very quickly. Tell me what's going on in St. Louis.
Everybody's following in pretty well. I have yet to see any of the coaching staff. I just talked to Coach Kotelnicki, and they're feeling pretty good about football season. So
I should hope so. Robbie,
I asked him.
Go ahead.
I asked him about specifics. He's like, "Ask me after spring football." Nice chat with him.
Yeah, absolutely. Robbie, can you look at your phone and tell me if you're able to mute things on your phone?
I hope so.
Yes. All right. Good. Now I'm not controlling Robbie, and he can unmute when he. Yeah, point.
I mean, it sounds more packed than it was last year.
Yeah, it does. It absolutely does. We'll see. I don't know if UB's tweeted out a Ustream yet. We are, for our viewers who are looking at 2 or 3 different directions, we're 7 minutes away from the start of the show. We'll see what comes up on Twitter in the next few minutes. That moment, Tim, where UB went down 1 point, and that was Akron's only lead of the game, which is really impressive. And UB led after 6-0. They led the whole way against Ohio. The UB women were down 5 in the fourth quarter against Central, and Joanna Smith had a personal 7-0 run. Akron, of course, was a much dicier game for the women. But these 2 games were really full of very good basketball and no really bad stretches. But that point where Akron went up 1 for me was when I had to mute all the Akron fans in our Twitter feed. I think in general I get along with the Akron fans pretty well. Between kind of soccer and basketball, it's where we've had the most high-profile clashes the last few seasons, I should say. But they're good guys. In general, we don't kind of have the jerks as we've gotten from Ohio and some of the West Division schools in the past. But that was when I just had to mute. Ian Tyack was being good and cheering for his team and not being rude, but I just had to make him go away.
Ian's a good guy.
And like I said, I wasn't watching video live. But even when I was watching the replay after the fact, ESPN was being funky on me, and it kept jumping to that point where 80% of the queue was standing on their feet and going nuts. And I just had to skip past that point, because even though I knew how it ended, I did not enjoy that. I was really surprised at how few points happened in the final stretch. Really, Akron went up at 55-54, and from there, it was a tie game at 50. We led 58-55, and then everything left was three-pointers. Akron hit 2 3-pointers to go up 61-58, and then Hamilton hit 2 3-pointers to win. And that was, I think Akron took the lead with 1 seconds left. I don't know if anybody else has more to say.
Looking back on it, I can't even remember when the leads happened. That game all happened so fast.
Yeah. Yeah, in recap writing, I remember the times quite a bit quicker, quite a bit more. We've got a couple minutes before the show starts. I don't know how much we're going to actually talk about the show as it happens. Does anybody have anything they want to say about the win over Ohio or even Miami? Or we can move to the women's team a little more dedicated. I do not care. Go ahead, John.
I wanted to throw something on the women's team if no one else has anything to say about the men's team, but if someone else has something to say about the men, then I'll wait.
No, who cares? Either way, go with women. This is a great weekend.
All right. I think for as much publicity, and she gets it deservedly so, that Stephanie Reed got for that winning shot, I think the real unsung hero of that whole sequence was Catherine Upps.
Absolutely.
She got Presley Hudson, and a legit all-MAC performer. I'd say probably CMU's probably second best or best player.
I'm pretty sure she was MAC Freshman of the Year, Presley Hudson.
Oh, yeah, that's right, she was.
Yeah.
That's right, she was. So she got MAC Freshman of the Year, Presley Hudson, to bite on a quick fake pass to her left. That opened the door to get the inbounds pass to Reed. And I think that's just something that kind of it goes unnoticed. But really, to get her to bite like that was absolutely amazing. And just the way the team played over throughout the whole entire tournament, just coming in as the 8th seed, they far outplayed my expectations in the tournament. I know, Matt, you and I talked at the beginning of the season when they had their big winning streak, and I think I mentioned then, I was like, wow, if this team plays like this all year, we could be looking at the MAC champions. And then, some things happened, and there were stretches where the offense wasn't as good as it really needed to be, and they lost some games that they probably should have won. But then we saw at the end in the tournament, that team from the beginning of the year showed up again.
Yeah.
But even better. The offense was absolutely lights out the last couple of games. Between scoring over 70 in the final, they scored 88 in the semifinal against Akron, and then even beating Ohio, they scored 72 against a very good Ohio team, who half of their losses this year came against UB, which is really nice because I really don't like Ohio.
Yeah, I have like 3 different areas where I want to build on what you had to say. First, the lower third up now, the little name thing. UB is indeed streaming the show from Santora's at ubbolls.com/ustream/index. If you have multiple screens, go and watch that. If you've got a phone and a computer, go and watch that with us. Or stay watching us. That's great too. We appreciate it. This will be available. Actually, both of them should be available for viewing after if you are forced to make a choice. Starting with Presley Hudson and Catherine Upps, John. Catherine Upps, I had the byline and the full first paragraph written to paint Catherine Upps as the hero of that game. I thought you were going to talk about her 2 3-pointers in overtime, as the unsung quality of that one. UB through this whole tournament, both the men and the women hit an obnoxious amount of three-pointers compared to what they did in the regular season, and Catherine Ups hit 2 of them in that overtime period that put UB up by 1 and then put UB up by 2, and those turnovers for Central Michigan, or the threes, the second one hit for Central Michigan. Only hit one of those free throws, and so we were only up by 2, but without that silly rule, we would have won there, and even so, we had enough. That's where I thought you were going with Catherine Ups. I do think it's absolutely stunning, the offensive performance that the women put together this whole week. I think looking back, I had a little more belief that they'd beat Ohio a third time than actually I should have. Obviously, they did it, but they did. I really shouldn't have. They were just playing with house money. And as I've already said or did say before the show, if you asked me to write a script about the Akron game, how does Akron win? Everything went right for Akron. They hit a school record number of threes. They were playing at a pace they wanted. Stephanie Reed fouled out with 16 minutes to go in the game. Like, we played the last 16 minutes of the game without Stephanie Reed, and we beat a team who shot 15 three-pointers on the day. Really just an incredible set of games from the women. Robbie, can you hear us very quickly? You might be frozen.
Yeah, you can hear us.
You can hear us, yeah. Robbie, when he can't, he's not moving for me though, so.
He thumbed up. He
did. Okay, Robbie, when the team is announced, unmute yourself, and we're just going to go to you for the celebration in there. Just so you know, you're still not moving for me, but I presume that you've heard that. So yeah, the women's game. Drew, it's been a while. I don't know how much you watched of the women's team. I know that you've been working, and work schedule this year has been a bit of an obstacle. But do you have anything on that?
It's been a challenge. So I watched again the last 2 minutes of the Akron game, and I actually shut the game off when it was 88-81. So I was watching on my phone, and someone walked into near my desk area and was like, "Are you watching a game on your phone?" And I was like, "Yeah, you called me." So I had chalked it up as they had won. So I turned it off, and I was talking to one of my office mates, and I checked the score, and I was like 88-87, like holy cow! And it shocked me that they managed to drain a three and then foul them and then drain the three free throw shots. But it's just been a quality effort by that team. Starting how many wins they start the year off with? Are they 7-0? Six now. And I mean, they had some quality wins in there too. For being such a young team and excelling at defense of all things, it's not what I expected at all. But I mean, they're setting the bar pretty high for years to come. Both teams. I mean, they're pretty young. So, but yeah, it's been a crazy ride.
Yeah, and for anyone who's watching who has not followed the women's team with the same vigor that we have in covering them, this was supposed to be the year for the women's. This time a year ago, we were saying this is the year for the women's team. They lost to Graduation, one of the best defensive post players and one of the best offensive post players. A senior who was first team All-MAC quality. They were returning a junior who was a very dangerous physical threat, athletic threat, and they were returning some real promising underclassmen. Well, if you don't know, the women's team, Alexis Malone, a killer underclass forward, transferred out. Mackenzie Losing was forced to retire from basketball due to ongoing ankle issues, and she just couldn't get another year out of it. And actually before this time last year, but mid-season last year, Rachel Gregory, who was an athletic matchup nightmare, just kind of quit the team unexpectedly and ended up at Coastal Carolina. Coming into this season, women's basketball was one of the youngest teams in the country, maybe one of the 15 youngest. They had one senior and one junior on the roster, and then Cassie Ausler gained eligibility and was able to play after the first semester. But even so, they're so young, and they did buy into defense. I actually have it right up here. Their first 6 games, they held teams under 50 points for their first 4, and at 60 or below for their first 6. And John talked about the offense of through the tournament. It took them until January 9th, until their third game of MAC play, to score 70 in a game. And in the conference tournament, they scored 72, 88, and 73. So they went half the season without ever scoring 70, and then they just found this offense, when it counted. The men the same way. Guys, can we count on three-point shooting now? UB's high for the year was 10 three-pointers in a game on the men's side. They had done that a couple times. And then they hit 11 against Miami, 14 against Ohio, and 10 again against Akron. Is this, people on the broadcast were saying, I believe that by this point you are what you are, and you can't drastically change your style. But do we think this is a team that'll keep hitting three-pointers in the tournament?
I mean, I don't want it to, I don't want that to be our game, just because of the inconsistency. I mean, there's some teams that can do that, but with the personnel we have on our team right now and coming in, I don't think that that's a sustainable way to win games. Willie Connor, he came in, from the JUCO rank shooting, I think close to 40%, it was 45%. Or somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And didn't do that well through the season, but came up huge in the MAC tournament. But I like his ground game better. The slash in the basket and finding holes. He has a really strong vision of finding those seams and cutting through them. That it's great for him to have both skills, but I think that's the more sustainable way for this team to go, just based on the personnel that we have right now.
I'll say if we were playing tomorrow, if we're playing tomorrow, yeah, go for the threes. But we're gonna have a lot of time off, and I'm just what are those things? Are we gonna stay that hot with the rust? I don't know. Sure, yeah, I can. So, what happened to was it Skeet? We had some players really show up who through the year filled the role, but that just weren't what we needed to win some of those closer games. Who is your Bulls, player of the tournament, guys? Who do you have?
I'll go. Go ahead, John.
Drew, you can go first.
Okay, I'll go first. It's pretty easy to say Willie, so I'm not going to pick Willie. I'll go with CJ. Just for what we brought him in and expectation-wise, and what he's been able to do throughout the season, and then in the tournament. I think he had 14 points yesterday, 18 points. Somebody correct me.
He had 18.
18. Okay, it was 18. But I mean, that's those are insane numbers for a freshman that was recruited, brought on late in the system, and really had who is this kid, and didn't really know much about him, and throughout the season it just shadows expectations at 15 points shy of Javon McRae's freshman record. So I mean, he has the potential to break that in this tournament game if he gets over 15. So fingers crossed for him. But yeah, CJ. I mean, it's going to be fun to watch him progress and grow if this is the starting point for him in the future. And it's funny how different the styles of guards that we have are. You have the long and lanky guards. So I mean, Bearden's arms are probably longer than his entire body are. Carries the ball on a yo-yo and just has these extreme ball handling skills, and pulls off these circus shots. Hamilton's obviously 6'6" and is more of a post-up shooter, but also can drive a little bit. And obviously Connor slashing, driving to the rim, and has a three-point shot. And CJ's kind of the jack of all trades, and he can pretty much do it all. I don't know if he's can ever run the point guard for us if we want him in that situation. For the long haul, I mean, obviously there's points in time where he steps in and does that. But I am really excited to watch this kid for 3 more years. And I think someone posted a video of him saying that he was meant to be at UB. I don't know if anyone can speak to that. I didn't watch the video.
Yeah, that was produced by Buffalo, by the school.
Oh, okay.
An all-access post. They had the highlights post video.
9 for 9.
No. This was just the team on the weekend, and they showed a clip of the morning walkthrough, the post-game speech against Ohio and the morning walkthrough, and then the only game highlight they showed was the buzzer beater because they had already produced a 2-minute game highlight.
Gotcha.
And then they had interviews with Oates and Blake and Perkins and CJ.
Yeah, I mean, it's just nice to see that. Obviously a good player and have those ties and be loyal to a school. And I know you can say that and run the other way as some people have in the past, but for right now, it's a pretty cool thing to see.
John,
So
who's
I
your
got kind of off tangent, but
no,
John,
no,
who's your
This
player?
is a great day. John, who's your Bulls player for Cleveland?
Kind of a little bit of low-hanging fruit, but I'm going to say Blake Hamilton. Not just because he hit the game-winning shot or the two shots to win the game, to win the championship game. But looking at his first two games too, first game in Cleveland, he nearly had a triple-double: 11 points, 16 rebounds, 7 assists. Semifinal game, 20 points and 5 rebounds. Then the championship game, 14 points and 11 rebounds. 2 double-doubles, nearly a triple-double, scoring in double digits all 3 games. I think he was just behind Willie in terms of actual points scored per game, but I think in terms of an actual impact on the court, bar none, Blake probably had the biggest of anyone on the team, and you could really make the argument for him in addition to probably 2 other guys that have that sort of huge impact for the team. But as John Fuller said on the radio broadcast, the man has ice in his veins. In hitting that game-winning shot, I fully expect there to be a Blake Hamilton statue probably somewhere outside of Alumni Arena within the next few years.
Matt, was that you who just texted me? Who did you go with?
So Ravi is checking in without unmuting himself.
Robbie. I couldn't tell who that was.
Yep. So Robbie doesn't want to unmute his camera, I guess, but he picks Nick Perkins, which I'm going to guess that his point is on Perkins' defense of Isaiah Big Dog Johnson, who is obviously Akron's massive post person. All right, we're getting the thumbs up. Is Akron's massive post person. Against Ohio and Akron, UB's opponents didn't really use their big guys like they could. We were talking early in the season about how the post presence for UB was perhaps their weakness. Obviously, Hamilton's gotten some time at strong forward. Raheem Johnson was lost for the year to an injury. Smart got better and better as the year went on. Yesterday, Perkins bodied up on Johnson and worked with him, and Perkins has that range on that three-point shot and is fluid enough to move that he can, he can draw Johnson out as he did, on that final buzzer beater, and he did a couple times. And so I have to think that's where Robbie was going. I know that Perkins also hit a few threes. I can't think of them off the top of my head. He hit a few against Ohio as well. I said it in the film study post, but I really think that play, the final play, was originally designed to be a shot for Perkins. I think that Hamilton rolling off the screen towards the baseline was meant to draw the Akron defense a little closer to the baseline and leave spot open for space. And it was meant to be a spot for Perkins, and Hamilton was just a little more open that play. He has a lot of time to line up his thing. Robbie is telling me the shot was never ever meant for him. So thanks, Robbie. I will shut my mouth then.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we're here. Go ahead, Robbie.
Okay, so the goal was for Perkins to distract whoever it was that was guarding him the entire time, and then he was going to dump it off with a fake pass at first. He did a fake pump pass, and then he was going to dump it off to whoever was open. It just so happened to be Blake, and then Blake just took the game-winning shot from there.
Okay. Well, that makes me feel like a bad commentator, but it's not too far.
No, Matt, I just want to say, I did watch your film study thing, your film study post today, and after watching it, I had the same thought. It looked like he was open for the shot and realized just how open, there was a better open shot and fed it there. And either way, one way the coach drew up a great play, the other way Perkins had awesome recognition of a better play. I'm not going to complain in either situation.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. I really latched onto that because Perkins is basically on the perimeter the whole time. Even before Lamonte cuts across the top of the key, he's lining up a shot to the basket. And obviously, if the plan was for him to dump it off, he absolutely made the right decision. As a freshman in the highest, biggest, most important moment of the year, that's that's a hell of a play to make from the freshman. It's hard for me. I'm going to finish the roundtable here on this question to really pick. I think on a purely like what happened level, I've got to go Blake Hamilton. But for the last 3 weeks, all I've been able to think of is Massenberg, Connor, and Hamilton all signed their letters of intent 6 days apart last year. They wouldn't have even been on the Bulls if not for everything that happened. We're in the middle of March now. I'll say 50 weeks ago. 48 weeks ago. They weren't even on the radar at this time last year. And those 3 guys have been, you look at the very biggest, most clutch performances of the year, it's been them over and over again. Lamonte's been a real solid producer, getting 6, 7, 8 assists regularly, pulling down 6, 7, 8, 9 boards regularly. But I said on Twitter, I've been planning a piece on these 3 guys and how they all came in close to each other and completely changed this season. And now when this piece gets written, it's going to be a little less novel because everyone can point to Willie Connor, tournament MVP, point to CJ Massenberg, threatening to break a UB record, and say, well, of course these guys changed the season. But I'm just so thrilled with all 3 of them that it's hard for me to do anything but point to all 3 and wave my hands in the air.
Yeah, I was gonna go with CJ buckets. You guys have each taken someone who I would have picked in successive order. The big difference I think is just coming off the bench. There's so many guys who did little things right this entire tournament, and I was really worried UB was not getting hot at the right time of year after we lost to Miami.
Yeah, you were.
Oh man, it wasn't that we lost to Miami because Miami did. It was just. It seemed like we had spent all of our energy getting up to that, 6-2 before Lamonte was suspended for those 3 days. We just never got it back. Mm-hmm. But they got it back just in time. And I, who didn't play a huge role in those games over the past couple of days?
Yeah, and you can say the exact. Oh, Drew, do you want to go?
Yeah, I'll just talk. I mean, compared to last year, it's easy to draw comparisons and contrast between the two. And I mean, last year we were running a 6-7 man rotation, so we kind of obviously had the double bye, so played one less game. But I mean, this year that the depth and scoring off the bench just helped a ton. I mean. We had one of the more athletic teams in the conference, and obviously puts an advantage for this format of tournament. But when you have guys on the bench who can not only just come in and fill minutes and not fall too far behind, but be productive and push that lead even full forward, like Nick Perkins, like CJ, even Riddell as an energy guy. It's a total different style looking back to last year, and I think it's a lot more entertaining from my perspective, but it just set them up for success. Everything went right.
Yeah. I here through the run, I think we can make the exact same play. I mean, I mentioned that Steph Reed, if you weren't watching these games, fouled out of not the Ohio game, the semifinal, the Akron game, with 16 minutes to play. It's unbelievable the bench production the women got in this game, and their trouble through much of their struggles this year was that they had Smith and Reed and sometimes Ausler, and it was kind of like what else is going to come. In the early going, Catherine Upps was real productive, and she kind of faded off. And I think of the group here, John is probably the most, and Robbie is most can speak to this more. But it's unbelievable the bench production they got here. Against Akron, I think they had 5 players in double digits. That's the first time they've done that since against the St. Francis Red Flash in November of 2014. I'm a little embarrassed that I know that off the top of my head. But they got production from everywhere. And against Central Michigan, Stephanie Reed did not foul out. She was not in foul trouble at all. And Gabby Bade, I don't know why we all changed her name halfway through the season, like the Matrix or something. Gabby Bade played. Her name was Bade. Her name was Bade for half the season. And then all of a sudden it was Bade, and nobody acknowledged it. It's like the fact that the Berenstain Bears is spelled with an A. It's the wildest thing. I'm certain her name was pronounced Bade, and I feel like I'm going crazy. Anyway, she played a ton of time in the fourth quarter.
Conspiracy just to screw with your head, Matt.
The
As
first
long
game
as you don't call her Baird.
As long as we don't call her Baird like the ESPN3 commentators did, yeah. Or I guess, I'm
Or-
sorry, Time Warner commentators being broadcast on ESPN3. We've got to get that right.
But the ESPN3 guys said Cassie Ousler was Cassie Oozler several times, and
They got so many wrong.
You know,
They got,
but worse than that, worse than the pronunciation thing for me was I got on my chest when ESPN last night was like, oh, and Buffalo returned a lot. You know, they lost a couple of guys, but they returned a lot of talent from that team last year, and it was. You know, the whole storyline around the Bulls this year was that was a dumpster fire after Hurley left. I mean, we had ESPN folks on Twitter saying, "Oh, just stick them off for a few years. They're gonna need time to rebuild."
Yeah, absolutely. I mean I didn't even realize. I saw that Oates didn't win Coach of the Year, and I thought he finished in third to Dambrot and Phillips. But Ball State's Whitford actually finished second. I have no words. And someone asked on Twitter, how did Oates not win Coach of the Year? And I just said, point out. I normally keep my tongue on this, but I said his team doesn't play in the right state. And
well, it wasn't just that Oates didn't win the Coach of the Year. Oates didn't win the Coach of the Year. There were no Bulls on the first or second conference teams.
Yeah. I mean, I have no issue with no Bulls being on first or second conference team based on the regular season. Sorry to cut you off, Tim. Go ahead.
Oh no. I mean, I think a couple of them could have been on the second team. Maybe should have been on the second team. I'm not that cheesed about the first team, but either Oates is a fantastic coach to get a team with none of the top 10 players in the conference to a bye in the third seed, or those players are a whole lot better than anyone was giving them credit for. It's got to be one or the other, if not both.
And the difference here, Tim, is the All-MAC teams are voted on by the coaches, and the individual awards are voted on by the media. And Elton Alexander of this Cleveland Plain Dealer controls the MAC media, and he does not like Buffalo. He didn't like Buffalo last year because they dared to wear hoodies, and he spent every time he had a chance to write about Buffalo, he wrote about Bobby Hurley and his childish swagger, letting these uncouth young ruffians run around with their hooded sweatshirts. And so Nate Oates didn't get Coach of the Year. Other ESPN issues beyond Cassie Ousler and Gabby Baird. What else do they get wrong? They call Joanna Smith Joanna Morrison all the time. Like, they don't even look alike. I'm trying to think of what other names they got wrong. We've lost Robbie, so we're not going to have this live bout of yelling and shouting from Santora's when the name comes down. We're 20 minutes in. It could take a long ways. It's a 2-hour show.
Ooh.
But yeah,
sure.
I might have a baby in my lap by the time we get to Buffalo then.
yeah.
I know Conrad is probably really happy Hawaii was just announced they're playing Cal.
Hawaii versus Cal, and Conrad's a USC guy too. Oh man. Oh man, that's gonna be a game for him. I know, guys. I could continue talking about women's basketball, but I actually have not. I barely know anything about like the larger college basketball world for 2 years now. That I was shocked to hear that Oregon is like a top 10 team. I had no clue. Did you guys see? Go ahead.
Oh, I would say, well, Oregon got one of the number 1 seeds.
Yeah, they got the number 1 seed for, I think, the West region.
Yeah, it was UNC, Kansas, Virginia, and Oregon were all the number 1 seeds, with Kansas being the number 1 overall.
Did Kansas win the Big 12 tournament? They must have. They always do.
Yeah, they beat West Virginia.
Oh, West Virginia. I liked the West Virginia fans that we interacted with last year, but I thought they oversold their team a little bit.
No, did they? I mean, they came this close to. I mean, they were. I think last year they were a team that was a little better than the record. They were a really good team, and they were a team that was building. They had a lot to be excited about.
I am 100% convinced that UB's issues in the first half of that game were due to nerves, which I never expected after Wisconsin and Kentucky, rather than the press. I think Lamonte Bearden alone had 4 or 5 turnovers last year that had nothing to do with the press and just had to do with his nerves.
Yeah.
But I interacted. I had a lot of good interactions with their fans, and I'm happy for them. I want to ask you guys, Coach Bauman. He's the I don't actually know what his title is, but Julius.
Oh, here we go, guys.
We got Miami.
Miami
Miami.
Miami
and
in
Providence.
Providence.
Nice.
Who's going?
I actually can't go on Thursday. That's all right.
Miami. All right. That somebody nailed that pick in our bracketology links, Tim.
Yeah, a couple people had that.
Well, I was going to bring up that Adam Bauman posted on Instagram a screenshot of his computer and the teams they had scouted, and it was Utah, Miami, Iowa State, Arizona, Kentucky, Duke, Texas A&M, Purdue, Maryland, Indiana, Cal, and West Virginia. Obviously, they've got Miami. Do we have anyone on Twitter? I'll go on Twitter.
I can. I'm seeing the reaction now. It just came on the Ustream.
All right, Drew, it's all you. You tweet.
Yeah.
Are you on our Twitter? Do you have access
I'm
to
watching the Ustream now.
Okay, I'll tweet from Bull Run then.
Okay.
All right.
Thursday.
Tim, you got to, John, you're not that far from Providence.
I am not. I'm on vacation this week, so I'm gonna have to start looking at tickets or something. Or
hit me up offline. We'll talk.
Yeah, John, you're media.
Thursday is like the worst day. I maybe could have swung it any other day except for Thursday. Well, I guess it's only the 2 days, but still.
All right, let's see. I'll start Googling Miami, and I've trained my computer to automatically go to the Red Hawks, and now I've got to go to the other one. They lost to Virginia, 68-73. Virginia's a good team in the ACC tournament. Let's dig up their schedule. Oh my God, their schedule page doesn't have their record on it. You've got to be kidding me, Miami.
The Hurricanes.
Public appreciation.
The Hurricanes finished. I can get it for you right now. Hold on.
25-7.
Hey, well, Akron had 26 wins, and we just beat them. Brief
Check
announcement.
the football page, damn you.
They lost to Virginia
UB
Tech.
Athletics.
They lost to Virginia Tech 77-62. That's kind of a big loss to. I mean, Virginia Tech's good, but they're not.
Well, I know they beat Boston College without looking.
Well, so did a lot of teams.
So Miami finished second in the ACC regular season. I think they lost to Virginia. Was that the finals?
No, it was the second round, which could have been. It could have been just the quarterfinal. Oh, actually, they may have had a bye, so it might have been the semi. But the ACC's got 14 teams, so I don't know what the bracket looks like.
So they finished 25-7 during the year, 13-5 in the ACC. One game behind North Carolina, who won the regular season, tied with Virginia. So yeah, they had that tough loss to Virginia Tech.
Yeah, but otherwise,
a lot to complain about that. See, a lot of good wins. You know,
yeah. Other than that loss to Virginia Tech,
and they lost to Northeastern.
Oh,
they're out of conference.
Ew.
Oh, they lost to Eastern, huh?
Wow. Did anybody catch the time? What time the game's at?
No, not yet.
I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, they don't have a lot of issues at all. They got pounded by NC State back in January, but otherwise, the loss to North Carolina, everyone lost to North Carolina. An ugly loss to Virginia Tech at the end of the year, and then Virginia's very good. Are they ranked? They might be ranked, huh? Yeah, they are. They were ranked 11th before their loss to Virginia. Let me look up their roster. Do they still have that Angel fellow? If they do, that's going to be a big problem. Yeah, they still have Angel Rodriguez. He's a redshirt senior.
I remember watching him last year. He was really good.
I'll tell you all right now, without really doing too much more research, Angel Rodriguez from Miami at point guard is going to be a big issue for UB. If I want to make Buffalo-related comparisons, he's a mix of Shannon Evans and Lamonte Bearden. He's that good. He's been a dynamic force. I didn't realize he was still around. They've got a lot of size, as you would expect from a larger school team, just like we saw against West Virginia last year. They've got, I don't actually know who their starters are, just looking at the roster, but Rodriguez is 5'11". They've got a guard at 6'2", a freshman guard at 5'10", and no one else is shorter than 6'5". And I guess we've got 6'5" and 6'6" guards in Hamilton and Connor now as well. But Tony Jakiri at 7 feet, 250 pounds, is going to be their main front court threat at center. He's a load. UB's going to have to find a way to get to the rim because that's their game. We talked about three-point shooting earlier. And I was very surprised that they were able to get to the rim as effectively as they did against Isaiah Johnson in Akron. This game is going to be a lot like West Virginia last year, where they're going to have trouble getting to the rim. They're going to have trouble pulling down rebounds, and that's to be expected, as an underdog. Here. But those I think are the two big names to know off the top of my head are Angel Rodriguez and Jakiri. From this Miami.
Actually, you couldn't ask for a better place to be. Not just because we got John right there, and we'll see what we can do for him, but because just the core of UB alumni outside of Buffalo is in that DC to Boston corridor.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, that is true. Any thoughts? So we're a 14 seed playing a 3. We were 12 last year. Any thoughts on the difference between the two?
I expected a 14, to be honest. I think I was kind of in a minority among our commenters, but I expected a 14.
I thought we might sneak a 13. Undeservedly sneak a 13, maybe. Let me put it that way. I remember when a lot of Albany fans were complaining we were a higher seed than them last year because they had been back so many times from the almighty America East. But from my point of view, getting there 2 years in a row doesn't buy you anything. You're being seated on this year's team, and we were a 70 or 80 RPI team with no quality wins and a couple of really questionable losses. So I can't complain too much. I wish we had a better seed, but what are you going to do?
I think, honestly, we benefited. I think in last year's bracket we might have been a 15. I think if you haven't been following, something like only 4, in all the conference tournaments, only 4 number 1 seeds, at least coming into today, had actually won their conference tournament. So in all those lower and mid-major conferences, a bunch of teams are going down to the NIT. And that was a concern if we didn't win the tournament, in the MAC tournament, because there probably wasn't room in the NIT for us, given all these bids that were automatically given to the top seeds in the conference tournaments. But in the other direction, that means that there are a lot of schools who are lower seeds like us in the men's bracket, and I think that may have pushed us up a bit even. I think Kevin Massari in our comments talked about a bunch of schools that won their conference tournaments and were definitely lower than us in the RPI. As Tim said, 70, 80 in the RPI, certainly no quality wins other than Akron, and we only beat them once. And a bunch of ugly losses, and we knew that, and I think we were expecting that coming into the year. 14-3 is still an upset that happens. It's still an upset that happens. It'll be an interesting game.
And look, Miami's shown they're not an ironclad team that brings it each and every single night. Not to say they don't out-talent us by a big deficit, but they lost Northeastern. That wasn't something that an infallible team would do.
Yeah.
So Charles Barkley is just about to give predictions on a round 1. He's in the South region right now, so we're almost to the Miami-Buffalo game.
Okay. Does anyone want to take their microphone closer to the screen?
Probably not me because I'm behind on my stream. So.
You got it,
John, you're a hero.
Okay.
Yeah, let's see. Ow.
Clean your room, young man.
The best.
There you go.
Alright, so can you guys hear that?
This is
Yes,
the
go ahead.
first round game ever.
Alright, I'll turn off the camera so you can listen.
State. I'm going to go with Wichita State. All right.
That doesn't mean you have to take them here because
I got to go back.
No, you don't have to.
Okay, well then I'm
We
going.
got Arizona, Wichita State.
Just trust Arizona.
Watching Charles Barkley fail at using this technology is absolutely wonderful.
You gotta take all that lotion off your hands. Hey man, I'm a metrosexual. I know you are. Petty every week. That's your problem.
Does anyone even know any of this?
We did. We go.
I like UConn over Colorado.
Jim Larinaga. Is a terrific coach. Yeah. When you start
Let's see if we can get the video. Maybe just hold it.
Well, that's only you with there. So it's not hard to beat you.
Do a little show and tell and watch TV.
Listen, if I get this game wrong, it's going to be.
Oh, he already picked Miami over Buffalo.
I asked them their opinion.
Didn't really say too much about it. I think he just
Y'all
selected
told me
it
to take Iowa.
and walked on.
Yeah, I forgot that Miami was coached by Jim Larinaga, who
You can't change your mind.
Larinaga
was,
was the coach of George Mason when they went to the Final Four a bunch of years ago. And totally off topic, but the Washington Post did a great piece, oral history of that Final Four team about a week and a half ago. If you wanted to go find it, I'd be happy to link it for folks. I don't think I'd be very surprised if anyone in the main media picked us over Miami. To be honest, I think both because it's now a 3-14 and because we were so popular last year. And last year was a very winnable game.
And last year we had shown a lot of impressive stuff, out of conference. We looked really good, against some really great teams. This year we didn't have that. We didn't have anything that made us look really great until, these past few games.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard for me to feel anything but that we're playing with house money. And I said that last year, and then I don't think I really believed it because we got all the press. This year I'm okay with this. I don't know who's on the 13 line yet. I'm the only one of us that doesn't have it on a screen.
13, I think he has. Who's he have for 13? Is Iowa 7? He has Temple. I can't. Who's 7 play? 11.
7 plays 11.
He has Temple 11. UNC Asheville is 13 against Nova.
Oh no,
wait, I'm on that. Sorry. 13 against Hawaii. Hawaii's 13 against California in the South.
Oh, okay. All right. Have they only gotten through the South bracket so far?
Yeah, they're just in the South bracket. So, we still didn't see where, of course, Stony Brook landed. Where I have a mild interest to see where that happens, just because. And we didn't see what the Buffalo News will be talking about later tonight with Bonaventure yet.
Yeah. I've got my fingers crossed that Bonaventure doesn't make it. I think they're in, unfortunately, but I'm still holding out hope.
Interesting tweet I just came across from Darren Ravel of ESPN that someone placed a $50 bet last night on UB to win the NCAA tournament, and if they did, that would pay out over $375,000.
Where's Dave Brand? Has anybody? We haven't heard from Dave Brand in a while here. That's worth fan-shotting, John.
I will do that.
Our viewers get a look at the dynamics of the back offices here, but that's worth getting up on the site. All right, so it's Miami. I'll be interested to see as the brackets reveal who the other 13 seeds are, other than Hawaii, and see how it shook out. It's hard for me to get too upset. Like I said at the very top of the show, last year was the team that was like, all right, this is the best chance we've ever had since Turner Battle. We went and won it. This is a team that can do a lot of damage. This year's team was much more like a dream to me. It was much more stunning, much more enjoy the ride. Last year, I remember, the enjoy the ride part came in the 6-game run of the regular year. I was like, all right, we got to win. Like, we absolutely no excuse to lose this. And the Central Michigan game was, I don't know if I can take it if we lose. And this year was, I think I just enjoyed it a lot more this year through the postseason at least. And I'm all right with Miami. That's a game. I love being in Providence. I love that. I think that's where we all said we wanted either Providence or Des Moines for Iowa State. That we could catch all the Iowa State fans who did the GoFundMe for Nate Oates earlier in the season. If we're the 13-4.
No, I thought we were the 14-3.
We're the 14-3, so we are. Who's the other ones in our pod then? The 6-11? 6-11, yeah.
I just read them out a second ago. Hold on, let me
I know you did. I'm sorry, but who's the other one that's in Providence with us? Who's that other team? That other game is what I mean.
Well, I had seen a lot of people say that they were looking at Stony Brook for that 13 in Providence, which would have been interesting if you think about it. But they weren't it. Okay, we have the South is Kansas, Austin Peay, Colorado, Connecticut. Connecticut, great game for them.
Yeah.
Maryland, that's a home game.
And Connecticut's not in the protected seeds, right? They're a 9 or an 8.
They're
It sounds
9.
like.
They're 9.
Yeah.
Maryland, South Dakota State is 12. California, Hawaii is 13. That's not in Provo. I didn't think. I thought those were out.
No. I think the 6-11 game would be in Providence opposite us.
The 6-11 is it's. Well, 6-11 they have a play. Is that a play-in for 6-11?
It could be a play-in for 11. Yeah.
Wichita and who's
Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt, Wichita is a play-in.
Okay, so that's in Dayton. And then who are they? Who's the winner of that play?
Going to play Arizona.
Okay, so we could have the most fans of the, like, at least of those 4 teams. Obviously, Providence will have 4 other teams as well from another part of the bracket, but we.
Yeah, it's where were we last year? I know we were in Ohio, right?
Have the I need you to say that again. You went a little choppy.
Where were we last year?
Columbus, but we were in Columbus with West Virginia and there were.
Yeah, it was
loaded with fans from all the teams.
But yeah, I mean, if the department hits it hard, I mean, they're definitely in the neighborhood where a lot of people could take a day drive to that game. If it had ended up in Des Moines, I'd already got the blessing of the wife for me to go down. I don't think I'll get her permission to head over to Providence, though. So.
Yeah.
You want to leave me with 4 kids for how long?
Tweeting, sorry. All right, what else do we have to say? Oh, Jim Larinaga graduated Providence. Don Schroeder is telling us on Twitter.
He's telling us what?
Don Schroeder on Twitter is telling us that Jim Larinaga, the Miami head coach, graduated from Providence. Oh, Duke is also in Providence. Damn, that means tickets are going to be expensive. If Duke's in Providence, there are Duke fans everywhere.
Fans.
There are people who wear Duke gear everywhere. Ugh. Although Duke's a 4 seed, so that's a bad draw for Providence. Oh, I guess they knew the seeds already. That means Providence gets a 4, a 5, a 12, a 13, and then a 6, a 10, a 4. Or no, a 4 and a 13. No, yeah, a 4 and a 13, a 5 and a 12, a 6 and a 10, and a 3 and a 14. That's not a great draw for having, usually you want to have one. We'll see. So they must have revealed the rest of Providence now. We'll see what happens. Go ahead, Tim. John, Tim is left. Should we talk more about the women?
Yeah, we go back to talk about the women.
I'm kind of out of things to say, to be honest. We were already over an hour beyond our usual time. And Robbie and I, at least, and perhaps anyone else who's able to join, will be on tomorrow night still in our regular time, and we'll talk probably a little bit more large-scale stuff. But Tim's back before we got a chance to talk about the women. Anyway, go ahead, John.
For the women's first round, I know Robbie had mentioned it on Twitter of a possible UB-Syracuse matchup in Syracuse. That would be pretty interesting to see, especially with Coach Jack having played and graduated from Syracuse.
I was just going to say, for those, we're down to 2 viewers now. They realize that we've lost our steam. For those who don't know and who are maybe watching this after the fact, Felicia Leggett Jack is one of the, maybe not anymore, but when she graduated, I think she was Syracuse's all-time leading rebounder, which should be no surprise given the quality of her teams on the glass. Before it was because she had all MAC quality forwards, and now it's just because her teams are awesome on the glass. That would be a lot of fun. The women's bracket is different in that the games are hosted, much like many of the Olympic sports, the first couple rounds are hosted on campus sites by the top 16 seeds, I think, host games, and so the 1 through 4, and the UB women are most likely going to be like a 15. They're now at 20 wins, which looks really great, but a lot of what they've done has come since February. They're now in a 9-2 run since Valentine's Day weekend. For a while, they considered the last 10 games and kind of momentum coming into the tournament, and that's no longer a criterion. So, I expect UB to be a 15 seed kind of there, and they'll be, even if they're not, they'd have to get up to a 12 to not be playing a road game, and I don't think that's reasonable. Do we have eyes still on whether Akron gets picked or not? How do you guys feel about that? I know that it's my opinion that I'd love to see Akron get picked still as an at-large. I don't think it's likely, but I'd love to see it.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat with you. I don't, despite a few Zips fans acting, not so great online last night. Most of them have been pretty good. I know a lot of them are good people, and I'd love for the MAC to get a second bid. So I was hoping Akron would sneak in as 16 or some, just basically get there somehow. I don't know that's going to happen, though. A lot of number 1 teams have lost, and there's a big fight for those spots.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I would rather see Akron than St. Bonaventure.
Yep.
Make the tournament. I would much rather see Akron.
Oh, that would be sweet, because that would mean Buffalo knocked Akron, Buffalo won and knocked St. Bonaventure out. That'd be...
That would be good.
Heads would explode at the Buffalo News if that happened. Not even as good as St. Bonaventure. Look what Bonaventure did to him during the year.
Oh, my goodness. You guys, so... I'm just going to say this and leave it said and just try to get away from the topic, but we have a very strict no politics rule at Bull Run, and it works out very well for us, and it's what we need to do. There is on Reddit a St. Bonaventure fan trashing UB for upsetting Akron, and Akron deserves, they won the regular season title, and why do we even do this crap where, a team that doesn't deserve it can make the way in, blah, 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 blah. And, this is a Bonaventure fan who knows he's on the bubble and is upset and this and that. But his handle on Reddit is the Donald16. That's just like, that is so fitting for the Bonaventure fans that I've met at soccer games and at basketball games, and I guess those are the only 2 sports. I don't think Bonaventure has volleyball. Do they?
I don't think so. I don't recall.
I think it's just Canisius and Niagara in volleyball.
Well, for the baseball games, but you don't do those. You didn't do those when you're up in Buffalo.
No. I have such distaste for Bonaventure fans. I really, really, sincerely have not yet met one who I would speak to if I had the choice. That Akron gets in their spot, because that would be awesome.
That would be so sweet.
Jeff Nason from the Buffalo News. This is not legit, but someone tweeted, spoiler alert, full bracket. Let's see if it's right so far.
I only saw half the bracket. I read that as an update tweet.
Well, I'm seeing both sides.
Oh, are you? Let me find that tweet again.
Yep. I'm seeing Jason Arkley from the Athens Messenger just tweeted it, and Jeff Nason from the Buffalo News just tweeted it.
How what is it? Well, if it matches up really well, the next couple ones announced, maybe it's legit.
And there's no Bonaventure in there.
I suppose Akron's not in there then.
Yeah, we'll see. There's nobody on that side that I care about.
I can't find that tweet anymore.
Okay, I've got it. It's got Chattanooga and Reggie Witherspoon as a 12 going against Indiana in Des Moines.
Oh yeah, we didn't even touch that. What? Shame on us. Congratulations, Reggie Witherspoon.
We didn't even touch that. Yeah. Reggie.
Yeah, it's one of those things where this all proves that change needed to happen at Buffalo, not because Witherspoon was a bad guy or a bad coach, just because it wasn't working. Mm-hmm. Danny White caught a lot of flack, and we've won now 2 championships in a row off of 2 different coaches that White either hired and or promoted.
Yeah.
But I couldn't be happier for Reggie to be there. I really couldn't be, and I hope they are a big upset and make some noise in the tournament because I'd love for him to get a shot again as a head coach somewhere else.
Yeah, he's still got. He's not that old, right? He can't be over 55 yet.
No, he's probably getting around there. Years fly, man.
I guess.
You don't realize.
I guess. He's 55 exactly. That's not more than 55. He turned 55 last month.
To be fair, I said he's getting on there.
You did. No, I'm just applauding myself for saying he can't be more than 55, and he is not. So he's 55. I mean, he could spend 5 years as a top assistant and get back into head coaching for sure, and still have a shot. I don't know anything about the Chattanooga team other than that they've got a connection with VCU. Over the years. But he deserves it, and if they
only 16, I'm surprised by that. Did they? Oh, they must have lost their title game.
Who's a 16?
Florida Gulf Coast.
Yes, they did lose. They lost to Southern, who's on a postseason ban and can't play.
Oh, really? Didn't know that.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh,
so I don't know if they got the off of it or not.
13, and they have Kentucky.
Okay. I can live with that. I am of the school of thought that we should stomp the rest of New York State below our heels and grind them into dust. Sometimes Tim disagrees with me.
No. I mean, I don't wish them any more ill than I need to. Hold on.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't know anything about Chattanooga and Reggie, but if they are indeed a contender for a 12 seed, that could be a lot of fun. Obviously. Turner Battle's Birmingham team last year pulled off a big upset, maybe 2. I think they went to the Sweet 16 last year. And Battle is still there. There's Reggie, obviously. On the women's side, Courtney Brown is coaching at Louisiana Tech. They don't have anything yet. Obviously, my 2 favorite women's basketball players of all times, Kristen Sharkey and Ashley Zuber, are both going to the tournament as coaches with UB. But in terms of UB people who are around the coaching bids, the last 2 years have been real good. Zuber and Sharkey get in. Last year, Turner Battle got in. Reggie gets in this year. I don't really know who else to look to.
For Phil's seed, what is he, in D2 or D3?
Phil's is in D3. I should check on how they were doing because they were undefeated.
Yeah, they should have a really good seed.
Yeah, Lancaster Bible College is where he's at in Pennsylvania. It fits. It's a good spot for him, just like Liberty was a good spot for Turner Gill.
Well, he was up here coaching a school right near me for a while.
That's where I went to high school.
Hmm?
Oh, they lost a game. I bet you they lost in the playoffs. They finished 27-1. They I got to remember next year to go and wear my UB stuff and cheer for They lost in the first round of the Division III tournament.
Oh.
They were probably like a 1 seed, too. Wow. I'm sorry, Zach.
Yeah.
Wow. Let's see. This is a recap provided by Lancaster Bible, so it doesn't say anything about Worcester. It was their first loss in over a calendar year.
See, the worst part about Bonna not making the tournament is now the Buffalo News is going to try to steal some eyes from us.
Yeah. But it does likely mean that we have Mark Dawn covering the team. Well, Sully will still be there, but...
Sully's easy if you
I don't know.
Just block him on Twitter for a day.
Oh, I block him on Twitter constantly. No, Mark Dawn is the only sports writer of the Buffalo News that I don't have blocked. Looks like Robbie wants to come back in.
Yeah.
That's good. Give it some juice. We'll see. I mean, we still got brackets to reveal, but people are treating this link like it's legit. This tweet.
Yeah, they actually have Syracuse in as a down at the bottom as a 10 seed.
Syracuse in over Akron or Bonaventure?
Yep.
That is
Because they're Syracuse.
that is ridiculous. Like, and I don't want Bonaventure in, and that is still ridiculous.
Yeah, I want Syracuse in less.
Oh. Oh
So
my
maybe the
goodness.
Buffalo News can go after Syracuse being in. Who
Buffalo
knows?
News. I mean, we know the WGR won't shut up about Syracuse now.
Let's see. They have Stoney as a 13 going against Kentucky.
Jason McIntyre of the Braid League.
What?
All right.
That just went dark.
I went
Yeah,
dark.
I didn't
Yeah,
catch
you're
that.
I said that Jason McIntyre of the Big Lead is indeed reporting that it's a valid leaked bracket.
You think our page views are falling? Imagine what's happening over at the NCAA and CBS.com right now.
Let me try and get Robbie back in here. See what happens. I'm going to send off an email to Miami's blog. They're Canes, Miami Hurricanes SB Nation. I should know what they are.
State of the U.
State of the U. That's what it is. Yeah.
When I posted our bracket placement announcement, I copied them over.
Okay. Cool. Last email and start to get that going. Yeah, I don't know if Robbie's still coming in or not. Otherwise, I'm pretty much done. We've been going for 80 minutes here.
Yeah, it's like
Yep,
that's like about 60 minutes more than I have anything interesting to say. So,
Well, it was nice to have 5 people on. That stretches the time well. Oh, they've already put yours up here on their site.
I was just gonna go check. Yeah, that's how SB Nation's supposed to work.
Yes.
If someone sends you a relevant link and you got nothing on the front page yet, you put it there. So good on them.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna.
But Matt, that means you need to go fix the crap I threw up there.
All right, I'll go do that now then. I'll do that now. I want to close us out, so if you guys can talk for a couple more minutes and wait out Robbie and see if he comes back on, I'll go edit this up now.
Sure. It is just a fantastic feeling as a fan, as a long-suffering Buffalo fan of all sports, to not only get here one year but get here the next year with a totally different team. This wasn't supposed to happen. It's a credit to Nate Oates. It's a credit to the guys he brought on. And John, I don't know if you happen to see the post-game speech that got put up where he addressed the team right after the game. But it was really well done, where he both praised the guys who stuck around through all the turmoil, and the guys who came on because they believed that Buffalo could get them to a tournament, and he fulfilled that promise after just 1 year.
Yeah, I actually did manage to catch that. I think maybe it was the Mac Twitter account put that video up. But last night I tweeted something that actually UB quoted in their story thing of the whole tournament. I said that men's hoops and women's hoops all season have been a reflection of Nate Oates and Coach Jack, and in a word is tenacious, and that's really the style of basketball that they have played. They've really been a reflection of their coaches, and really good on both of them, especially with all the adversity that Nate has had to deal with in the past year, between Hurley leaving, Moss getting kicked off, then finding out his wife was diagnosed with cancer right before the season started. I can't honestly, the sweetest moment for me last night was seeing the video of Crystal climbing up on the ladder and cutting down part of the net. I'm not gonna lie.
Yep.
That to me, that was really special, that she was able to be in Cleveland and be a part of that, and just seeing that kind of reminded me that it's a little bit more than just a game, and And both Coach Jack and Coach Oates are high quality people. They're you really can't say enough good things about both of them.
Oh, we got Robbie back. Robbie, you wanna sign us off here, or you got anything you want to add?
How much have we talked about Miami?
Not a whole lot.
Not a whole lot.
Matt talked about their size and some of their star players, and we looked at their season a little bit.
Okay, from what I've gathered, Miami's guards are pretty athletic, and they really know how to penetrate the lane. And I feel like that's going to cause a little bit of trouble for our front court. But they're like a beefed up version of Bowling Green.
That's a great analogy, and because we saw just how hard Bowling Green could make life on us in that game.
But yeah, that's pretty much all I have for Miami. Yeah, I was really hoping for Villanova. I felt like we would have had a good shot against them.
I mean, it's so funny.
Before, I know we're probably going to sign off here in a few minutes, I just want to make a quick plug for Matt and I's Olympic Rundown podcast, which will be tonight at our usual time at 10 o'clock for anyone who is still watching. Be sure to come back and tune in for that. It's been crazy with basketball and everything, so we'll finally be able to sit down and chat. There have been a bunch of other sports that have been going on. We'll be able to sit down for about an hour and chat and catch up with them.
Yeah, shout out to baseball. They're almost back to 500. They're having a surprisingly good year, given what they lost and what they brought back. Maybe they'll follow up after basketball and do some damage in the MAC.
Yeah, and in addition to that, I'm going to try and keep it spoiler free, but if anyone who was watching has paid attention, oh, and there goes Matt. Wrestling has nationals this weekend. We'll be previewing that. Men's tennis taking on Binghamton. We've got a whole bunch of fun stuff to talk about.
All right, so there you go. Tune back in tonight for the Olympic podcast, and tomorrow I think Matt said he was going to run a normal Basketbulls and Beers.
We'll have a little show.
Was that Robbie?
Yeah, we'll have a show tomorrow. We'll talk about whoever the women get matched up with, and
I'm sure
from the
you guys
brackets
will
I've seen.
by then.
Yeah, from the brackets I've seen, we could get matched up with Syracuse, so hopefully. Yeah, but that's it.
All right, guys. Matt's computer froze. He's gone. So for everyone that was here, have a good night. Have a safe night. Look forward to seeing you tonight on our Olympic podcast and tomorrow on Basketballs and Beers. Have a good one, all.
It still says we're live.
Yeah, I don't. With Matt crashing, I don't know if we can take this off of live. Welcome to the post game.
Well, a live after party. How about that?
Live after party. My after party is going to be making dinner for the kids. So I got to jump off too. I think maybe if we all jump off, it'll finally go away. Maybe. It's like Ron Burgundy. Good night, San Diego.
San Diego.
All right, night, y'all.
Night.